present to you the proposed budget for 2023. First, let me say, I know that Councilmember Tompkins is not well and can't be here, but I want to thank you all, those of you that have participated in the process that we have developed since coming to City Hall of engaging with the council in meetings in the run-up to the preparation of a budget, so that you are sitting in selected department meetings, gathering information and understanding how the budget comes together, and then our subsequent meetings to address any other issues before we actually get into this formal presentation. First, let me highlight for you our proposed capital plan for the coming year. When you take a look at the proposed 5-year plan, there are a number of projects that are proposed, and specifically in the area of major road projects. Some of the projects that we have on schedule for 2023 involve the Cayuga Drive Military Road area, and that's a project that is also wrapped up in some questions with regard to other infrastructure, and we're hoping to be able to move that forward in 2023 once we resolve that issue. It's our hope to spend, we're proposing a plan just in the area of street paving and civil infrastructure of just under $7 million in terms of total project cost. Then obviously we also have some concerns with regard to facilities in our buildings, and in regard to specifically much of what we're going to be doing is going to be heating and cooling, upgrades and improvements, as well as, again, making sure that our pools are prepared for the summer. All of these things that I know I have spoken to you about over the course of this past year are our ideas for going forward. And in that area, the area of buildings and facilities, we are anticipating various projects costing just under $3.5 million. Then other capital improvements, all told, we hope to be able to present a capital plan project that spends just over $18 million on a variety of departments, as well as these infrastructure remediations and improvements that we have discussed. Much of this is consistent with what you have seen us present under the American Rescue Plan over the course of this year, and that'll continue to roll out over the course of the next couple of years to try and accomplish some of these capital projects that have been long overdue, and unfortunately the neglect is actually costing the city more money. Getting into the budget, in terms of revenue, we are anticipating a couple, or projecting, proposing a couple of increases in revenue. We are proposing a sales tax increase, a budgeted increase of just over $2.5 million. That's both the county and the HRU piece. And we still think that in our discussions, proposing that additional $2.65 million is still keeping us within a conservative approach, given the growth that is happening post-COVID. But we still think that those projections are reasonable. And in fact, if we continue to enjoy the kind of, as I say, post-COVID activity, we may be able to exceed those projections. But that's what we project for the coming year in those revenue lines. Additionally, in our parking operations, we've seen some improvement given the fact that we've become automated. We know, and we've heard from the council, there are areas of even further improvement with regard to enforcement and the ability for our street parking to become a little bit more efficient, and we're working on that, and we may have some plans that we can roll out in the coming year, 2023, that might be able to help us improve in that regard. But we are also projecting an increase in parking operations in line with around $400,000 additional dollars in parking revenue increase. As far as property taxes, we are proposing a property tax increase that is $694,852, which does not exceed the cap for our community, and it translates into about 41.7 cents per thousand homestead and 74.5 cents per thousand non-homestead. And again, that property tax increase is projected to generate about a little more than $694,000. As you take a look at the budget, we're proud to present a budget that year over year, all of the departments have pretty much held the line in terms of expenditure and growth. The only one that has ticked up by 1% is the Department of Public Works. These increases that you see in our projected revenues are really designed to help absorb collective bargaining agreements, increases, and I'll speak to some of those increases in fixed costs, whether it's pension or medical insurance. Also, on the issue of casino revenue and what this budget has unfortunately relied upon over the course of several years, we will again be making a casino transfer. However, this casino transfer will again reduce the dependence on casino revenue by approximately $600,000. And so this is a continued decrease over the time that we have been here to continue to drive down dependence on the casino revenue so that it can be utilized in a much more productive way for the community. We have a long way to go. The projected transfer this year is a little over $8 million. So we still have a long way to go to get to a point where we're no longer relying on it, but that's the goal as we move forward every year in preparing our budget. On the expense side of the ledger, obviously there have been some operating costs that have increased. Just as people in their homes have seen an increase in gas prices, so has the city. So the increase in fuel is about just under $200,000. We have instituted a 311 call center that I know the council is familiar with. Originally, that call center was funded through a grant. The grant has now expired, and so to continue that service, we are proposing a $102,000 cost associated with maintaining the call center. We have some increased cost. As you know, we have been focusing specifically on improving our information technology, both internally and then obviously externally to the public. Some of that has resulted in obviously additional expense. And so we're proposing about $194,000 in increased expense for software-related costs. And that's all consistent with what we are trying to do in terms of improving our information technology. As you know, the city has appropriated money in the past for the acquisition of garbage totes. Many of them have now reached the end of their useful life, and so we have to obtain more in order to be able to continue to move forward with that program. And so you'll also see an additional $75,000 budgeted for the acquisition of those items. We have some increased expenses for pension and medical insurance contributions and premiums that will total just under $600,000. So, and those are costs, as you all well know, that are set externally from our budget preparation, and so we are proposing those increases to be able to absorb what we know will come as a projected increase. We have also proposed an additional $135,000 to be transferred to the library. This is for the purposes of maintaining the library's position in the Niagara system as the central library. So we propose that and hope that the council will agree that that's an important aspect of our community. In terms of additional expenses with regard to personnel, we are proposing an increase in order to remain competitive. We are proposing an increase in the salary of the public information officer to grow from the current amount up to $54,000. We believe that that salary will now make us more competitive in the market. We've had some great candidates that have been here, people that I know you've worked with. They have moved on, and they've moved on generally because of salary. So we're hoping to be more competitive in that market. We do have some candidates that are available to us, and we're continuing the interview process. We recognize that that position helps the city of Niagara Falls independently get information out to the community. We rely on print media, we rely on broadcast media, but we also have to make sure that we're able to communicate on our own. They can only carry the ball so far. They have limits with regard to their time frames and what they are able to manage, and so this position presents an important role in making sure we get that information out to the community. We have eliminated the position in the business development office that was the tourism coordinator. That position has been eliminated. We are proposing the creation of one police officer position that will have as a specific assignment, among other duties, animal control responsibilities. You may recall that at a previous meeting I have discussed with you that animal control is going to be a topic we are going to have to address. And so this is the first step at making sure that from the public's perspective, we have someone specifically assigned to animal control tasks. You may recall that the previous officer had retired, and so we are now in an effort to try and make sure that we continue in that process. We are also, and we think that this is an important addition, we are also proposing to the council the creation of 2 building and safety inspector positions. These positions are at a lower pay scale than the code enforcement officers. They are designed to do tasks that don't rise to the level of code enforcement. We see these 2 positions as quality of life positions. These are the individuals who would be out in the neighborhood. These are the individuals that would enforce the various laws that you've passed recently with regard to short-term rentals, landlord and property manager organization. So it's these individuals in conjunction with code enforcement officers, but these individuals would be specifically focused in that area. Overall, the budget holds the line on every other expense line that we are able to control that isn't determined externally. This budget comes in at a total expenditure proposed of $99 million, just under $100 million. And while it is growth from the adopted budget in 2022, you can see from the items that we are proposing to you that the growth in some respects is based upon improvements that we are trying to do with regard to how government responds to the public, as well as improvements on how government operates. These are long overdue improvements in the way in which city government operates, and we're still not finished. We're still not all the way there. We propose this budget. We think that it is a fair and reasonable budget. We think that it's a budget that is both responsible to the public, but also efficient in presenting to you a budget that we think the public can embrace as well as we think you can embrace. Now, I recognize that over the course of the next few weeks, there will be opportunities for us to discuss more at length and in depth these various departments and questions you may have with regard to even some of the items I brought up in this presentation to you. We're prepared to be able to address all of those items, and we look forward to being able to provide you with whatever additional information you may need so that you can comfortably move forward to accept this budget. I appreciate, again, the fact that you've taken the time throughout this process, and this process started early. It started during the summer with meetings that allowed us to sit down with department heads and council members and have a conversation about how government is going to look. And so we think that it's important for the council to be involved as partners in the government process, and that this document just doesn't get dropped on you. So again, I appreciate personally your commitment to this process and to the fact that we think, not only does it help educate the council on the operations, but it also gets you a sense when you go out into the community of why money is being spent the way it's being spent. So again, I thank you very much. I know that the city controller will be distributing to you the various budget books for this proposed budget. And again, both myself and the other members of the administration are available to you in advance of any budget meetings for conversation, and certainly at the budget meetings to have a discussion about all of these items on the revenue and on the expense side. Thank you again.
Thank you, Mayor.